Few things. First of all, it is such a pleasure to work with Dean Ridings as the new leader of America's newspapers. We have known each other for many, many years, have worked together on many partnerships, and really just excited to have you on board and to have you as our partner. A few quick things about LMA. What's new since the last mega conference? We launched Accelerate Local in the spring of last year. And with that, we launched 6 projects with 50 different media companies, and 34 of those were newspaper companies. You got a little taste of the Digital Subs Lab, some of you earlier, that was one of the 6, or the Data Lab, or the Branded Content Project from yesterday. And in the pipeline for 2020, we're focused on 3 pillars: philanthropy and collaborative journalism, DEI initiatives, and business transformation. So we've launched NewsFuel. It was funded by the GNI Innovation Challenge, and it's going to be a platform that matches funding organizations with media companies for the purpose of funding journalism. So that session yesterday, led by Knight Foundation and Tim Ritchie, my new hero, Fresno, and the work they're doing with the labs there. You're going to see a lot more of that coming out of Accelerate Local, and collaborative journalism efforts, and a lot of DEI initiatives. We have our transformation lab with our publishers of color and 5 African-American newspapers, and we're expanding that as well. So just a quick update on LMA, and my gosh, Dean, you have some exciting stuff going on over in your world.
And I have known Nancy for many years and have enjoyed the partnership, and I was delighted as I became part of America's newspapers to continue that partnership in a bigger way. The challenges of our industry are continuing to mount, and working together we are stronger and better. So thank you for it, Nancy. And let me also thank all of you for participating in this mega conference at a critical time, not just for the business of our industry, but for its fundamental issue to inform, educate, and safeguard our fellow citizens. David Tavern said this morning, all of us here are working towards those same goals. That's why I can announce that in 2020, America's newspapers will launch a multi-tiered marketing campaign focused on promoting the importance of newspapers in our society. We will help our members tell the story of how they enhance the civic life, the local businesses, and the very sense of community in their towns and cities. This campaign will utilize the reach of newspapers today across all platforms, from digital, video, and to the printed newspaper. We'll show how our trusted content and sophisticated solutions benefit local businesses and readers alike. This campaign will reinforce the role the newspapers have never abandoned as community leaders that inspire conversations and make connections in our markets. Stay tuned to America's newspapers website, newspapers.org, and our communications for updates and to learn how you all can be part of this campaign. We're also proud to announce that America's newspapers is partnering with Mike Blender and the team at Editor and Publisher on a number of content initiatives. Soon you'll be able to turn to E&P for the latest information about what's happening with America's newspapers and find out how you can get involved in a wide variety of programs all designed to help your newspaper. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that the Local Media Association, News Media Alliance, and America's newspapers are all looking forward to making the 2021 mega conference even more valuable to all our members. I expect that we'll have more details about where and when we'll meet made available to you all soon. But now it's time for the coveted Mega Innovation Award competition. 2 years ago, Dave Kennedy and the Honolulu Star-Advertiser were honored with the Mega Innovation Award. Today, he is back, representing the judging panel to introduce us to the award finalists and present this year's award. Join me as we welcome Dave and the finalists to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Aloha! It's indeed an honor to be able to present this year's award. We are an innovative industry, and that has proven itself true just for the few sessions that I've been sitting through. No one demonstrates that better than the 3 finalists for the Mega Conference Innovation Award. I got to tell you, just a couple years ago, that was a very exciting time. Congratulations to all the nominees. I found this quote. Steve Jobs said, "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. We have 3 leaders that will be on this stage later. Not that much later, because right now I'd like to introduce Walter E. Hussman Jr., publisher of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, to tell us all about what has become known as the iPad strategy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This has been really interesting today, listening about the digital subscription. So I'll just give you a quick update on where we stand. A little less than a month ago, we completed our digital conversion for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. And so we are now working on the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. We now converted just shy of 40,000 subscribers to digital subscriptions. We've delivered just over 28,000 iPads, and on our digital subscriptions, we're averaging Little Rock Edition a little over $32 per month per subscriber. And on our, those do not count what we would call maybe our website subscribers. We've got about 4,000 of those, and they pay us about $25. We start them at 99 cents, and we move them on up. So anyway, that's kind of an update. But today I want to tell you there's probably been a number of articles written about the how that we did this. Probably the best article I've written is by Mark Jacobs, who's associated with the Medill School of Journalism. And all you got to do is Google Mark Jacobs, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and you'll find the article if you haven't read it. But today I want to talk to you not about the how, but the why we did what we did, and then I want to show you what we've done. About 11 years ago, the Detroit Free Press converted from 7-day home delivery to 3-day home delivery. And I remember reading at the time, it was so interesting because the management of the Detroit Free Press and News, they looked at it and they saw all these people come into their website and they were going to the digital replica. And they were thinking, wow, why are they doing that? Well, why they were doing that is that's what they were familiar with. And so that was the first hint I had that subscribers really preferred a digital replica of the newspaper. Press Display, which was also known as Newspaper Direct, you know, they started their business by basically taking hometown newspapers and delivering them just about anywhere. So you went to New York and stayed in a hotel, you could get the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette or the Daily Oklahoman, you could get that delivered in your hotel on 11 by 17. Well, the internet came along and they just moved all those editions over to the internet. And I remember I was at a meeting in New York with David Thompson, who is the publisher of the Daily Oklahoman. And the iPad just came out in 2012, and I would say, hey, David, let me show you. This is kind of interesting. You know, we got this digital replica now. It's on the iPad. Let me show it to you. He said, boy, that is interesting. And I said, you know, your paper's on here too. And he said, what? I said, yeah, it's on here. Look, here's the Oklahoman. He was surprised. And a lot of people didn't know when Press Display, and now it's called Press Reader, moved everyone over. And I remember having a friend in Little Rock, and he called me one day and he said, you know, I just accidentally discovered that your newspaper, I can get it on my iPad. And I said, oh, yeah, that's something we're doing. We just kind of started that. And he said, well, you know what? I travel a lot, and I love it. I can get the newspaper wherever I am. So what we've learned in the last 2 years, it's taken us about 2 years to do this, is that we've, completely dropped Monday through Saturday print delivery, home delivery, in 63 of the 75 counties in Arkansas. And what we learned is that people tell us when they hear we're coming to their town or their neighborhood and we're going to do this, is they say, I don't want to do it. I want to keep my print paper. I really don't like this idea. And then what they tell us after they've used it for about 3 weeks is they say, you know, I can't believe it. I like it better. That has been universally the reaction we've had from people, and that has surprised us. We had no idea when we started 2 years ago people were going to actually like reading the paper better on an iPad than reading it in print. So, you know, one of the things that's occurred to us is when you move a subscriber from print to digital, you're asking them to make a pretty big change, okay? And most people are not asking them to make one change, they're asking them to make two changes. You're not only asking them to go from print to digital, you're asking them to go from a print format to a scrolling website format. Well, that's another big change right there. So basically what we're asking people to do is just make one change. Just go from print to digital, but you don't have to change the format. It's going to stay exactly the same. And one of the things we've learned is that people who read the newspaper, our digital subscribers who read it in a print format, a digital replica, they spend a whole lot more time reading the paper, engaged in that session, than they do when they read a scrolling website. And what we've learned is that people that spend more time and are engaged more time with us, they're more likely to be retained and not churn. So, of course, not everyone likes it, not 100%. In fact, only 79% of our subscribers, our home delivery subscribers, have switched over. So the question is, would you rather have 79% of your print subscribers paying you $32 a month? Or would you rather have 100% of your subscribers paying you $5 a month? Now, that's about what most newspapers get for a digital subscription. This group we just heard from, they're doing great. They've gone up to $9 to $11 a month. But I can tell you, at $5 a month, we can't get enough subscribers to be sustainable. So the point is, though, no one's getting 100% of the subscribers to get $5 a month. So is it better to get 79% at $32? Or, you know, how many you're going to get at $5? So just do the math, and I think you'll find it's a much better economic proposition to go with the digital replica. So much for the why. I'd like to show you the 12 reasons why people tell us they like the paper better on the iPad than they do in print. And so we've got it up on both sides here. So I'm going to go with this microphone. Does this work? Yeah. So basically, the number one thing people like the most is basically taking their two fingers and putting it on a story and just moving their fingers apart. The type gets much bigger. They take their reading glasses off. They say they love it. That is the most popular thing about it. Another thing that people like, and they're really surprised when they do this, is they just tap on the headline like that. These little icons come up on the bottom, and when you press that...
Taliban, pact signing before month is over. U.S. peace negotiator says he's cautiously...
It will read every single article, every single column, every single editorial in the paper. You say, well, why would you want to have it read to you? Well, you know, there's times when you just can't focus your eyes on the newspaper, like when you're driving a car, but maybe there was that one article you didn't really want to read, but you had to get to work. This will work off your phone, too, as well as an iPad. So another thing is that the photos and the graphics are just so much better. There's no way we can get this kind of reproduction on paper. Also now, every photo in our newspaper is in color. Even the obituary pictures are in color. You know, you can do that with print too. It would cost us about $30 million for printing presses to make every picture in color. And there are a few papers around the country that did that at one time, bought enough press capacity to do it. Another thing that we've worked with the press reader, and we developed this where we're trying to, we can take any these photos that are in the paper, and I'm going to take this photo, for example, of the refinery fire that was down in Corpus Christi, which is on our front page today. So if you see this little icon over in the lower right-hand corner, it's got a mountain and a moon. Okay, so if you just touch that thing, there's another photo and another photo and another photo. So you have multiple photos of the same of the same photograph. It's a better way to tell the story. It's a better way to do journalism. And the other thing is, if you press on that little icon that has the arrow on it, it will actually launch a video. And so here it is. Here's actually a video of the refinery fire down in Corpus Christi. Those have been really popular with our subscribers. Can't do that in print. Another nice thing about it, which is just as good as print, is it's portable. You know, you can take this with you basically anywhere. And even better than the print newspaper, you can receive this anywhere. You're here in Fort Worth today, you can download your newspaper in your room. And so another thing that people like about it is, again, you just click on the headline, and you can click on this little icon in the far left, and now you can send this article to anybody by email, or you can send it to them, over social media. And, people used to, well, I want to share this article. They get a pair of scissors, they cut it out, find an envelope, find a stamp, mail it. And they don't have to do that anymore. Also, you can store multiple copies of the newspaper. You can store up to 60, with Press Reader, you can store 60 issues. So we thought maybe a few people would do that, go back and look at a prior issue. We did a survey the first town we went to. 40% of the people said they went back and looked at prior issues. 40%. And so normally people would say, did you see that article in the paper the other day? Well, I think I threw that out. Well, now they don't have to worry because they've got all the back issues on their paper. We deliver our paper by 4 a.m. at the latest. Okay, sometimes it's even earlier than that. So people are getting their paper earlier. Also, you get it delivered in your house. You never go out in the rain again. You don't ever have a wet paper again. You don't have to go out in the cold to get the paper. And one of the things we do is we give access to all of our archives to the people who are our iPad subscribers. So that's basically, there's one video I want to show you, and that was the NBC Today Show. Did a little segment on our iPad program on December 22nd, and I'm going to play that for you here, and that'll conclude my remarks. And then I'm at one of these tables later today. You may get any questions. Come see me.
These are undeniably turbulent times in America for both those who make the news and for the traditional outlets that cover it. According to the Pew Research Center, the combined print and digital circulations of newspapers last year reached its lowest level ever recorded, and most online ad revenue went to Facebook and Google, not to the publishers. One local paper in Arkansas has come up with a unique plan to save the business. NBC's Katie Beck explains in our Sunday Spotlight.
If you could hear the heartbeat of a newspaper, you'd like to listen to the pulse of its printing press, where history's first draft is inked into the folds.
Every town needs a police department. Every town needs a fire department. Every town needs a water department. Every town needs a newspaper.
However vital, America's newspaper business is on life support. 1 in 5 papers have closed in the past 15 years, leaving some 200 counties in the country with no newspaper at all. Shrinking ad sales and readership has papers downsizing staff and content.
I didn't want to do that.
Walter Hussman, publisher of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette in Little Rock, says 2018 was the first year the 200-year-old newspaper in his family for 3 generations didn't make money.
I feel like journalism is really important to sustain today, and it's under real threat.
Instead of changing his newsroom that employs 106 people, Hussman changed his business model.
So if I go ahead and tap on it, here is your paper.
So you can just scroll through and...
Building not a website, but a digital replica of the actual newspaper.
Tap it again, it goes down.
The front page, the obits, even the crossword puzzle. Now for an iPad.
Instead of eliminating the cost of reporters and editors, we just eliminate a lot of the material.
Hussman first tested his idea in the tiny town of Blytheville, home to just 200 subscribers. He went personally to explain it, finding a flaw in his plan. It wouldn't work unless every subscriber already owned an iPad.
We were prepared to spend $12 million on iPads, making a pretty significant investment in the paper.
The already struggling newspaper proposed buying every subscriber in the state an iPad. It was bold, expensive, and initially met with some resistance.
I went to 3 different places and nobody had a newspaper.
Longtime subscriber Gene Graves initially was furious, but not for long.
It was just really easy, and it's exactly the same format as the newspaper.
And if you miss a day, you can actually go back to that day and pull up the paper.
Yes, and when I leave town, I don't have to get somebody to pick up all the newspapers.
Hussman's plan rolled out across the state with scheduled demos and town meetings. Now, about 90% of subscribers are on board. For $34 a month, subscribers get a free iPad and a printed paper delivered only on Sundays.
Like I say, there's a lot of risk in giving away a free iPad to subscribe to the newspaper, but I think he's at home run.
You have to take risks in life. You have to take risks in business. This is a risk, but it's better than just dying a slow death, which is happening to too many papers in America today.
Next year, Hussman says the paper is expecting to make money again, enough to keep the lights on, which in his mind is enough.
We're not trying to take risks to make big profits. We're trying to take risks to maintain an institution that's been around for 2 centuries.
You're trying to save something you love.
Right, absolutely.
Perhaps the heartbeat of a paper is better heard in the people who support it than the machines that print it. For Sunday Today, Katie Beck, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Man, Walter, make me want to go grab my iPad I'm glad I have my senior VP, Aaron Katarik, here. I hope you memorize that presentation when you go to the Big Island. That was, what's interesting about these 3 nominations is the diversity of each of them. And as you can see, it does take leadership to make things happen. Next up is Fraser Nelson, Vice President for Business Innovation of the Salt Lake Tribune, who will tell us about her paper's journey to nonprofit status. So right now, I'd like to invite Fraser to the stage, please.
Thank you to the Mega. When I was invited to the Mega conference, I was like, what? Mega, I love it. I'm glad it's not MAGA, because I was a little worried, but great. It's great to be among you. I also want to thank the sponsors of the conference and thank Walter for setting such a high bar for innovation. Walter, you're really an inspiration to all of us. I want to talk briefly about what the Salt Lake Tribune has done, and most importantly about how it might relate to the work that you're doing. We became a not-for-profit. Oh, do you have the clicker? Oh, sorry, I'm blind. We applied for not-for-profit status in April of last year and thought it would take at least a year before the IRS worked its magic. But instead, we heard really quickly, and in November of this year, we became a 501c3. We actually have 2 organizations, the Salt Lake Tribune, Inc., the not-for-profit, and we've also created an organization called the Utah Journalism Foundation, whose purpose is to raise an endowment to serve not only the Tribune, but other independent journalistic enterprises in Utah. We think that's really important because as the Tribune changes and our print strategy may change, it will affect other smaller newspapers in our state, and we want to be supportive of them. So either of these approaches might be relevant to your community. But right from the start, our vision was to create a new model for local journalism in the nation. And we were very deliberate in our application to the IRS to make sure that we weren't setting a particular path forward for anyone else. So all the things that we do to raise revenue currently, subscriptions, ads, et cetera, are all allowable under our application with the IRS and our approval. Likewise, all the coverage that we do, sports, culture, the arts, are all allowed under the IRS ruling. There were some people who said, well, you shouldn't say you'll drop sports, but can you imagine the Chicago Tribune not covering the Cubs? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Sports are part of what creates a community, and the same with arts. But the big change to our organization is that we're now led by the community that we serve, and we're asking the community to support us in the service that we provide. So we'll be sharing our work as we go forward through a generous grant from the Google News Initiative. We'll be creating a playbook, and we're more than welcome to share all of our progress with you, including our IRS application, our bylaws for our board, anything else you need. We want to be extremely transparent to you. So this is basically our business model. The Tribune itself is becoming a 501c3. Some people think that we've done a conversion. That's not actually accurate. We created a new organization called the Salt Lake Tribune, Inc., which is a 501c3 public charity, just like the Boys and Girls Clubs, just like any other nonprofit you're familiar with. And we're placing assets into that new nonprofit. So Paul Hussman, who is our owner and publisher, is wrapping up liabilities and complicated business transactions through our joint operating agreement. And basically what the new organization is getting is its staff and the masthead. No debts and no long-term pension or anything like that. The revenue that we'll be creating is through our digital and print subscribers, as well as a membership and donation platform. We've already had about 2,000 donors, and we've raised a little over, well, close to $300,000, about $280,000 from those donors since November. So this has been a real sign to me of the appreciation our community has for us. We also want to do what folks in Fresno and Seattle are doing with some labs, and we're doing some fee-for-service contracts, events, and advertising revenue. We were likely to pay unrelated business income tax on that advertising revenue. And these funds will go to support our news operation and some additional innovations. Also, clearly, we need to do more work to engage with the community, especially if we ask them to support us. So we're doing more public events, kind of building off stealing some things from the Texas Tribune and others who do a really good job there. Then the endowment is major gifts from individuals. Right now, the smallest gifts we're taking into the endowment are $1 million. We've raised close to $20 million into the endowment, and we're also working there for planned giving, and that will ensure the long-term future of the Tribune. So that's our financial and business model. We feel a lot of pressure, to be honest. When I don't think we really realized what we were doing is innovative. I mean, I'm very new to the news organization, but I've spent a lot of time in philanthropy, and setting up a nonprofit is something I've done half a dozen times before. I don't think Paul and I really realized what we were up to, and then the next thing we knew, we saw a lot of media attention to our efforts. And I think that Alberto at the Knight Foundation, who's a really generous supporter and also a big cheerleader, was really kind when he said that this decision from the IRS, which they were pretty skeptical would be in our favor, really opens widely the door for all of us to turn to our communities and seek support. And I would encourage you to find a way to do that, whether it's partnering with your community foundation or setting up a not-for-profit that sits alongside your organization, using the LenFest model, and Annie's here from the LenFest Institute, where they've done something similar. There's lots of ways that you can turn to your community. And so we became a not-for-profit right before Christmas. And one of the things that was so gratifying is, this is one of our cartoonists, is that people bore gifts to us. When we asked people to support us, as we were bringing them their independent news that Utah relies on, they in turn turned and gave us gifts. So we're very grateful for the support of our community. We're grateful for those of you that are continuing to find ways to innovate in this critical, critical piece of our democracy. And I wish all of us the best of luck as we continue to find new ways forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Fraser. I know that we are all going to look forward to you continuing to communicate your success with us and share with us how that continues to prosper. One of my favorite stories growing up, and I've held it true through my life, is The Little Engine That Could. This little newspaper reminds me of that. I also lived in Reno, the biggest little city in the world. This is the biggest little newspaper in the world, I think. The last finalist is a Sumter item. Vince Johnson, publisher, will be sharing how innovation hasn't changed his staff. It's impacted the transformation and growth of the entire community as well. Vince, you and your team are up.
We can't just innovate for the joy of innovation. Our innovation has to work, and it has.
Innovation has made us the hub of our community.
Innovation has made us a point of pride.
And here's the thing about this type of innovation. For all the newspapers across America struggling to keep the doors open,
Struggling to keep key jobs in the newsroom,
Struggling to create with limited resources.
you can do this.
I'm Vince Johnson. I'm the publisher of the Sumter Item, a 5-day per week, 10,000 circulation newspaper located in rural South Carolina. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank our ownership, the Osteens, Hubert and Jackie, Graham, Jack, and Kyle Osteen, for seeing this path and allowing us to take it for a ride. I'd also like to say how honored we are to be standing alongside the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and the Salt Lake Tribune as finalists for this award. Your leadership and vision in this industry is inspiring and changing the game for all of us and the many journalists yet to come. That's a picture of our staff, our entire staff. They made the screen at the mega conference. I'll have to tell them. This honor really is incredible. Just a short history to what led us here. I was actually born just blocks away from this room in Fort Worth 36 years ago. And several years after that, I was just up the road in Denton, right outside the delivery room, when someone else was born. We're longtime family friends. My dad was the pastor of a church in Denton. His dad was the minister of music of that same church more than 30 years ago. And for the last 5 years or so, he's led our digital teams in North Atlanta and now in Sumter. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Micah Green.
Thanks, Vince. Vince called me several years ago and told me, without hyperbole, that he was trying to save local journalism, and he had a position for me. I moved to Atlanta as a photojournalist, but quickly had to diversify what I was doing, and my roles evolved. We started our first sponsored daily news show and made partnerships with some of the bigger companies in the area. We even ended up on this stage in 2016. But there was one missing piece. One day, a writer came through our doors, and seemingly no time, she became our executive editor. Not only that, but just a few months ago, she also became my wife, Mrs. Kayla Green.
I got applause, you didn't. Moving to Sumter in late 2017 for us was very different. From covering a suburb north of Atlanta that was one of the fastest growing counties in the country and the most affluent county in Georgia, and going to rural South Carolina, we had to envision what our world could become and what part that we could be in it. It was a 125-year-old family-owned newspaper in a town where the main headlines were about it being high in crime, low and median income, and struggling in public education. We had success at our first go-around together, and now we had the opportunity to see if it was a matter of right place, right time, or if we could replicate what we've done in a very different market. We quickly realized that in order to build up the item, we also had to build up our community too.
We knew that our technology and data would have to be more sophisticated. that longtime employees would have to move away from the way it had always been done, and our products would have to reflect our diverse audiences, both serving our legacy audience while simultaneously building audiences and advertisers for the future. And in a county of about 100,000 people, with local television more than 30 miles away, one of the first moves was to let Micah and his team do their thing with video.
In a room inside our building that had previously been rented as a Halloween shop, we launched Studio Sumter. Headlined by our sponsor daily news show, Sumter Today, we officially started our 5-day-a-week video production in February 2018. Sumter Today now has over 400 episodes, some of which may be playing, I guess not. It's okay. And over 1 million video views, giving a new platform for storytelling in Sumter.
Sumter Today not only tells the news in a different medium, it's contributed to the revitalization and growth of the community by sharing purposely positive news. News that wouldn't often make it into the paper, like summer art classes at the art gallery or trainings at the fire department. By instilling confidence back into the community, they're more likely to want to be a part of its growth.
Our video strategy extends far beyond local sponsored news video, though. In the past 2 years, we've centralized commercial video production work in our area to our Studio Sumter team. We now produce paid video series for the local industrial association, the Economic Development Board, Sumter School District, the City of Sumter, as well as paid commercials for many of the prominent businesses and events in our area. We also are mid-production on a documentary featuring a local, world-renowned artist with production sponsored by the city.
We sold local sponsorships to Sumter Today prior to launch and were profitable from day one of production. And now we own video of the key people, businesses, and events in our area, giving even more archival and commercial value to our present and future as the media leader in our community.
You live in Sumter. Your news should too. That's the tagline of Studio Sumter and Sumter Today. With no local TV stations near our community and being the only daily in our coverage area, we wanted to be that video storytelling platform, making the Sumter Item a more well-rounded media organization and using the skill sets of all our local journalists.
Of course, video isn't the only innovation in Sumter. 2 years ago, the Sumter Item Reader's Choice Awards was a 17-year-old print product with about $27,000 in annual revenue and a few thousand annual votes. Today, Best of Sumter is an annual celebration approaching $250,000 in direct annual revenue, several hundred thousands of votes, and multiple events with our partners at 2nd Street. It's on a wave of momentum that has spread not only through our media organization, but through our community as a whole. For the first time in 2019, we added an additional Best of Clarendon contest in a neighboring county.
Best of as a singular event is no secret. It's been done around media organizations and communities for decades. There are many different models, but this one's different. Our model turns a product into a continuous stream of audience, revenue growth, and content. We host a nominee expo and a red carpet event for our winners. We publish lists promoting top categories throughout the year. We continuously distribute Best of magazines to newcomers through our real estate agents, bringing foot traffic through our local advertisers' doors. Throughout the nomination and voting periods, we build enormous lists of prospects that turn into clients, content, and indirect revenue throughout the year.
Best of has literally saved journalist jobs in our community. It's brought life into our local businesses. It's been a springboard to attracting newcomers and building pride within our citizens.
These are just 2 examples of initiatives that have caught on in Sumter, but there are more. One of our sports writers championed a statewide high school football website this fall called OvertimeSC.com and recruited 19 aspiring journalists to contribute their team's game coverage to the site each week.
We've launched podcasts, email newsletters, sold Clemson championship game posters, and more. Today, our whole staff is built to create new products. This
would all be hollow, of course, without the numbers to back it up. In the past 2 years, our total digital advertising revenue has grown by more than 400% and into a critical component of our business. Our social media following has more than tripled, the unique visitors to our website have more than doubled, and our digital subscribers have increased by more than 50%, the vast majority of that growth in the last 6 months. And our opt-in local email newsletter, the subscribers to that have grown from under 4,000 to more than 37,000 today.
The events we hold in downtown Sumter have become must attend. Today, community leaders thank us and promote us to others as the go-to media entity in our area. We've rebuilt trust in our community by becoming part of it, by helping it, and by leading it.
We represent the thousands of small-town media organizations looking for answers without the resources to take large chances that fail to work. Our margins have grown significantly, our newsroom jobs are more stable, and our community is growing as a result of our broadening, deeper coverage.
Before we go, just 3 takeaways I'd like to mention for our local colleagues working in innovation. Number 1, find your audiences and connect with them through authenticity. Build deeper relationships by improving their daily lives. As humans, both digitally and in person, we long for community. Work with that. Number 2, secure the revenue first. Every time we start a video series, launch a podcast, debut a contest or an event, we strongly prioritizing figuring out the revenue piece first. It's hard, but it makes you sustainable and it's worth it. And number 3, create powerful allies. In building community, we need community leaders to see our unique and vital role in the future of the area. If they want their businesses to succeed, if they want their schools and government running smoothly, if they want their families to live more meaningful and connective lives, they need us. They need local media telling those stories. And that's our story of innovation.
All right. I've been in this business 38 years, so it was before Vince was born. I can tell they're young because they're reading off their phones without glasses. I'm reading off paper with glasses. So, the innovation is exciting. The passion of this room is exciting. We're all working to finance the First Amendment. We continue to hear it, that we do all of this for the journalism, and let's keep that passion alive. Exciting to see these innovative steps being taken by such a small paper and such a young group. It looks like you guys are having a lot of fun also. These are 3 great nominations, each of which is worthy of this award. There's only one winner. Isn't there something else in the Oscar where they don't say winner, but, But we do have a trophy for one. Get it. It's all in bubble wrap. We're really protective of this. It looks familiar. I have one of these. I don't want to drop it, but it looks really nice. And I tell you what, it means, jeez, we should have done that before, I guess. The name on this trophy is the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Walter, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I'm very honored to receive this. I'm not sure I've ever spent so much money to get maybe $12 million to get an award. But anyway, I really appreciate it, and I'm real excited about America's newspapers, and we're all honored. We didn't, just a few of us did this. We got people throughout the paper, the circulation department. We got 70 people that are doing one-on-one training, showing how people how to use the iPads. So the morale at our paper is so high. People are so exhilarated because they see a path forward, and I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Outstanding presentations. So I also want to thank, wait a minute, we get back on track here. Now I have some business to talk about. So before we break for lunch in the exhibitor hall, let's recognize the Alliance for Audited Media. I'm very happy to be part of that organization for its generous support of this mega conference. AAM is sponsoring our lunch today and also has prepared a short video for us.
It's very important for us that the newspapers are participating with AAM, to their members, because we do need that data. And the more papers that are involved, the better for us, the better for them.
We value that AAM brings transparency to our clients and to us regarding the data that we need to build out these strategic media plans.
Virtually all our clients require some form of audited media whenever possible. And we do have some clients who will not run non-audited paper.
When we're putting together different media campaigns, we are looking for audited media.